Chapter 7. At 10:15 the next morning, I walked through the front doors of the office of the Chief Medical Examiner on East 26th and First Avenue. With its low ceiling and rows of stark blue metal tables, the autopsy room at the back of the first floor always reminded me of a pool hall, the least fun game hall of all time. The tables were thankfully empty this morning, doing my best not to peek into the lab scales and buckets and glass-stored fridges. I crossed the white-tiled room to the office of Assistant Medical Examiner Dr. Clarissa Linder. Dr. Linder was a genial, nice-looking woman with short, dark blonde hair. I'd worked cases with her before. Before becoming an ME, she had a lucrative pediatrician practice on the Upper East Side. But when she'd turned 40, inspired to do something more challenging, she had traded in Band-Aids and lollipops for psycho-killers and floaters. Her door was open and she was standing behind her desk, thumbing at the Fitbit on her wrist. "You have one of those stupid fitness things, Mike?" "One of these stupid fitness things, Mike?" She said. "They're addictive. If you have 900 steps, you find yourself walking in circles around the room just to get to 1,000. "No, I don't," I said, and sat in the chair in front of her desk, but I'm certainly no stranger to walking around in circles. Speaking of which, what's going on with Mr. Mitchell? Or I suppose Mr. Doe is probably more appropriate, unless we've heard from Leighton Prince. She raised an eyebrow as she handed me her file. "No such luck on the Prince, Mike. As usual, the wheels of death processing grind slowly." "So what's your take on Mr. Doe?" "Where do I begin?" she said. "Did you see the amazing shape of this guy?" "He did seem pretty trim, worked out some, did he? He looks like an Olympian, jacked, as the kids say, with a body fat percentage in the single digits." I shook my head. This case just kept getting weirder. "Anything else? Cause of death was the fall, right?" "Yep. Massive bruising and impact contusions on the skin and muscle, especially to the head and upper chest. The bones in his face were completely pulverized." "Anything in his bloodstream that would have made a healthy person like him suddenly want to throw himself off a roof? Like flakka or something, crystal meth? We have some indication that he might have thrown up prior to the fall." "No, nothing," she said, surprised. "A little alcohol in his blood was all." "You think he threw up?" "I don't know about that. He had food in his stomach." "Is that so?" "Yep," Dr. Linder said. "Food and this." She lifted a plastic evidence bag on her desk beside the autopsy report. There were 2 items inside of it. One of them was yellowish and thin and looked like a deflated balloon. The other item looked like a thin slip of paper. "What the hell is this?" I said. "How is this in the guy's stomach? A piece of paper and a condom?" "With numbers written on it," the doctor said. "They seem random. I counted them twice. There are 24 of them altogether." "That's just..." "Yup," Dr. Linder said. "Like the way people sometimes smuggle drugs," I mumbled, turning the bag over in my hand. The same exact way," Dr. Linder said. "Have you ever seen something like this, Mike? Because this is the first for me." Chapter 8. "So tell me, Una, Mary Catherine was a nut when you guys were teens back in Tipperary, wasn't she? Remember, I'm a cop, so don't try to lie. I'm highly trained in the art of truth detection." "How did you know, Mike?" said Una, a very funny, heavy-set 40-something with long black hair. "Oh, Mike, she was just mad, so she was. Closing down discos, out drinking full rugby teams, all the lads chasing her. She was a sheer panic of a woman, a true holy terror in high heels." "I knew it," I said, and smiled at Mary, blue-eyed and blushing beside me in the van. I was driving down Broadway in Midtown on chauffeur duty for Mary and Una, her cousin visiting from Ireland. They were going to see the new musical School of Rock at the Winter Garden Theater, and then to drinks and a late dinner at my good buddy Emmett O'Lunny's joint across the street. I'd already called ahead and told Emmett to pull out all the stops, the full red carpet treatment. Not so much for Una, but for Mary, our house martyr. The kids had insisted that she enjoy herself without us in her hair for once, on a much-deserved girls' night out. I stole a glance at Mary again, so heart-swellingly pretty, done up in makeup and a little black dress. I remembered a line from an old drunk cop at a retirement party I'd taken her to over the holidays. "Your wife, Mike," the former emergency services cop said with a drunkenly wistful and old-fashioned earnestness. "Your wife is an Irish beauty." Honestly, I thought as I watched Mary blush even more under my gaze, though technically she wasn't my wife. "And why not, Bennett, you complete idiot," came my interior Catholic. Funny how he always sounded sort of like Grandfather Seamus. "Penny for your thoughts," Mary whispered, squeezing my hand as Una took a call in her cell behind us, as if I don't know. "You want to know what I'm thinking about right now? You really want to know?" I whispered back. "Yes," she said. "I'm thinking about dropping Una off at the next corner," I said. "And then," she said, stifling a giggle, "what are you two whispering about up there?" Una called out. "I'm not interrupting anything, I hope." "Una, we were merely conferring about how best to honor your visit here upon the shores of this fabulous, free, and just land," I said, gesturing at the insane snarl of traffic. Mary thought the Empire State Building might be nice, but I said no. "We first must book you some ice time at the Rockefeller Center rink." "Oh, was that it?" Una said. Mary gave me a wink. "I may not be as highly trained in the art of truth detection as you, Mike," Una said after a beat, "but we from the Emerald Isle do know a little something about right blarney." Chapter 9. The next day I was back at Holy Name doing my best to dodge basketballs and screaming grammar school tweens during lunch yard duty when I got a call on my cell phone from an unknown number. "Hello, detective. My name is Len Breimer. I write for the Daily News. I was given your number by a woman from your squad." "Yeah, sorry, Len," I said as I pulled my old friend Hyperactive Henry down from where he was trying to climb the yard's chain link fence. "No comment for now. I'm still trying to run down some leads." "No, you don't understand. I'm not calling as a reporter. I'm actually involved in the case. At least, maybe. That jumper from the hotel, I think I was on my way to meet him before he died." "What do you mean you think?" "It's a kind of a long story. We should meet." 20 minutes later, I got out of my unmarked Chevy on 30th near 8th, where several huge flocks of pigeons were dive-bombing between the old concrete office buildings of South Midtown. Before Alfred Hitchcock could show up, I crossed the sidewalk to a garment district pub called the Liffey. Breimer showed up a little later. He was a tall dude, 6'4", 6'5", in his 30s, balding but athletic-looking, wearing black wind pants and a gray Hofstra hoodie. He looked like a basketball coach. "Okay, detective, here's what happened," Len Breimer began after we were seated in a booth. "So I'm out at Citi Field trying to get in to see the general manager about the Campbell trade, and I get a call. The guy calls himself Charlie, and he tells me he's an old friend of my younger brother Adam. He tells me he was in Adam's frat at Syracuse 10 years ago, and that Adam had told him about me, that I was a reporter or whatever." "That sounds weird enough," I said as the waitress brought me a Bud Light pint. "It gets weirder," Breimer said. "So this guy, Charlie, said he had a huge story about the government that he wanted to tell the press, but that he didn't know anyone in New York or trust any reporters. He said he knew Adam was a great guy and that he had spoken highly of me, so he was wondering if I could help him." "A huge story about the government, like a whistleblower sort of thing?" I said. "He was vague, but that was the kind of gist I got," Breimer said, nodding. "I told him that really wasn't my bag, and I could refer him to some good guys I knew, but he said no, that it had to be me, and also not to tell a soul. He was adamant about that. He sounded pretty paranoid." "Did he have any sort of accent from New York, you think?" "Maybe not New York, but he sounded normal, like anybody, definitely American. He sounded sane but worked up, so I finally said okay, and we set up a meeting at Index House on the west side." "Then what happened?" So I go there and nothing. He told me he was a tall guy with black hair, but as I head into the bar where he said to meet, I don't see him. I talked to the bartender. She said she remembered him, but he left. I even spoke to the desk clerk to see if he left a message, but there was nothing. What time did you get there? 9:40, 9:50. Yeah, we think he was already dead by then. I knew it, Breimer said, scrunching his face as he stared down at the table. I tell you, I feel like crap. Instead of heading straight there, I waited for the Mets GM and then the cab in from Flush and got stuck in traffic. Then when I heard about the jumper, I thought, wait a second, was it this guy who called me? Did you speak to your brother about any Charlie and his frat? I did. Adam knew lots of people in his frat. He's still in contact with a bunch of them on Facebook and LinkedIn, but he can't think of anyone named Charlie. So now our mystery man was some kind of whistleblower. I looked out the window, watching the birds looping above 8th, my mind turning over the false names and the 24 numbers in the man's stomach.